Okay, so I'm back from my cave to talk a little bit about my experience with the Xencelabs Pen Display 16. So I just want to give a big shout out to Xencelabs for sending me this unit for review. This will be my very first sort of PC tablet that I review that isn't a Huion tablet, so I was very eager to try this out. And real quick, for those of you that don't know, Xencelabs is a subsidiary of the company Han Uji, which also owns the brand XP Pen and is meant to be the sort of premium branch of drawing tablets that this company offers, whereas XP Pen is sort of like the affordable branch. So the stylus we'll be drawing with is very similar to what you usually see with tablets like these. However, one thing I thought was really neat is that at the end of it, there's this little eraser nub thing that works as you'd imagine, where when you're drawing, if you turn it around like a number 2 pencil, you can actually erase the lines with the end of the stylus. And I don't know, I thought that was just really cool and nostalgic for me, especially considering that my first 5 years drawing was as a traditional artist with a number 2 pencil, and I would do this literally all the time because I was crap. It also comes with this really nice case for the stylus where you get your extra nibs, the nib remover, and even the slim version of the stylus that's similar to, say, the Apple Pencil if you're used to that sort of thing, which is really cool to be included with the tablet in my opinion. So to start off here, I'm actually just going to list my biggest pros and cons of this tablet, starting with the pros and ending with the cons. And my first pro is that this tablet really does feel like a premium product, from the build quality all the way to the screen itself. This is the first 16-inch 4K OLED display, and naturally with an OLED screen, it looks really nice. It's crisp, the colors pop, and you really just can't go wrong with an OLED screen. My second pro, which is probably my biggest one, is the pressure sensitivity on this tablet. Personally, I have a very light hand when I'm drawing, and I draw for long periods of time sometimes, so pressing hard on a screen for hours can really wear on your wrist. So whenever I'd use, for example, the various Huion tablets I reviewed, while the pressure sensitivity is great on those, I did find that I'd have to press on the screen just a little bit harder in order to make a mark. With the Xencelabs Pen Display 16, the issue is fairly non-existent for me. The pressure sensitivity is highly adjustable on the screen itself in the settings, and being that I can do that, it's highly suited for someone like me who doesn't press very hard when they're drawing. For example, I'm just going to hold a stylus like this and sort of just scratch the screen almost, and you can see that it's still picking it up. These breaks in the line that you see aren't because there's an issue with the tablet, it's because I'm trying to go so light that I wasn't even touching the screen there, I was just hovering over it. So that's probably my favorite thing about this tablet in particular, and in fact it feels similar to the way it does on my iPad, which is great for me, you know, when I'm switching between this and that. It doesn't feel like I'm drawing on a different piece of hardware. As I mentioned before, this is an OLED screen, so the colors are just super deep and vibrant, so that's always a plus if you're like a painter or someone who works a lot with color. The color accuracy looks great on this display. Now, my only con for this tablet is that during my time using it, I did notice the parallax effect a little bit while I was drawing, which just means that the cursor sort of lags just behind where the tip of the stylus is actually touching on the screen. So you can see in this example of a profile head that when I go to draw the chin, so right now the tip of the stylus is on the line I already drew, but when I actually make a mark, the line is just behind where I actually wanted it to be. In other words, it's not flush with the rest of the line work, and this can maybe be a bit of a problem if you're working with very thin brushes, I'd imagine, where line accuracy is needed. And for me, this isn't a huge problem, even though I may be making it sound like it's disruptive. It's really not. Sometimes I hardly even noticed it, so it's not a deal breaker, and in fact, this result might even vary depending on the angle you're drawing in, I imagine. But nonetheless, I did notice this happening, so I figured I'd mention it here. And like I said, that's really the only con, if anything, that I have for this tablet. My time using this has been great. I love the way it feels to draw on the screen. It also has a bit of tooth to it. The resolution is crisp. The brightness is awesome. I have it at literally 0 brightness and it's still bright. The colors are great. This is a premium product through and through, and I don't think anyone would be disappointed if they choose to invest in this product. So this is really one of the better ones out there. So Xencelabs, this is a big thumbs up in my book. And that's all I got for now, and I'll talk to you again as soon as I can.